Good morning, comeback kids. Welcome to Thinking Maps Ambassadors. So glad you're here to join us today. We're going to be learning all about bridge maps today. Yeah, pretty wonderful. All right, so let's get started. What is a bridge map? Well, I got a secret for you guys. Okay, so bridge maps are these really cool maps that I've been using Thinking Maps for like 7 years. And until this summer, I didn't really understand why I needed to know how to use a bridge map. But then I had an epiphany when I was sitting in a training session. So a bridge map is this really cool tool that helps us use analogies. What, you ask, is an analogy? An analogy is just when we compare two things. Right, it's not that hard, huh? I know, I totally thought it was going to be this crazy challenging thing. It's not even that bad. So I've got this bridge map up here. I want you guys to take a look. It looks kind of confusing and overwhelming, but when you understand the pieces, it's not bad at all. Okay, so a bridge map is when we're comparing two things. And I have to know, why am I comparing these two things? So that's what my relating factor is. So on this particular map, I'm talking about is responsible for. So you can see I've got my little bridges and and they're connected with these little bumps with the as between them. You can have as many or as few as you need to answer the question you're trying to answer. So in this case, I'm talking about responsibility. Oh, yeah, that should sound familiar to some of us who took English class because we talked a lot about responsibility, right? Yeah, we did. Okay. So, is responsible for, and you can see I've got here a teacher. So what things is a teachable teacher responsible for? Well, a teacher is responsible for teaching, right? They're responsible for testing. They're responsible for grading. They're responsible for helping, right? They often they need to be responsible to listen to their students so they know what the students need. So those are some of the things a teacher is responsible for. Now, what kinds of things would a student be responsible for? A student is responsible to pay attention, right? Okay, ask questions because I can't read your mind. Yeah, I can't. It's true. I know you think I can. I cannot. You got to ask me, right? So you got to ask questions. Sometimes you have to follow directions, right? Even though that's not what we all love doing, it's really helpful when you're learning something new if you follow directions. What other things would a student be responsible for? Homework, right? Okay, so those are some of the things a student would be responsible for. Hey, I think you guys are getting this. All we're doing is making a comparison, right? What is a teacher responsible for? Teacher is responsible for teaching, testing, grading, helping, listening. Oh, did you guys catch that? All my words here have ing on them, except for this one. Some of your teachers might have talked to you guys about something called parallel structure. That's where you make all of the endings of your words the same, or in the case of sentences, all your sentences have the same basic format. This is an example of me not following parallel structure, and reading over my map helped me figure that out. I'm going to fix this so that it matches all the other words. There, now it's got parallel structure. All right, so we're working on our bridge map, and our bridge map helps us to see analogies, which are comparisons between two items that we maybe never thought about before. So a teacher is responsible for teaching, testing, grading, helping, and listening, just as a student is responsible for paying attention. Oh, see? I am catching all these little things, paying attention, asking questions, following, oh yeah, I see, following instructions or directions, and completing homework. Completing homework. There we go. Look at that. So now let's make that same comparison with the same relating factor for parents and children. So a parent is responsible for providing a safe environment, right? That's like one of the first things the parent needs to do. Okay, food, nope. Providing, okay, maybe I should have said providing else at the beginning. All right, so providing food, showing love, guiding, right? Those are all things a parent should do for their child. But what things is a child responsible for? What about obeying? Especially when it has to do with safety, right? If you're trying to teach your child not to walk out into the street in front of a car, you need them to obey because you want them to be safe. Yeah, okay. So what other things might a child be responsible for? Obeying, maybe we could say showing love, right? Kids tend to show love back to their parents, right? So those might be some of their responsibilities. Maybe in your house, a child has to complete chores. So we would say completing. Hey, why is it black? I'm picky. I want it to be the pretty color. All right. Completing chores might be another responsibility for children. Awesome. So we have compared what a parent is responsible for as to what a child is responsible for. Wow, you guys, I never thought about like a bridge map can be a way to help me find ways to compare things, right? So I set up this relating factor and then I can come up with examples for each of them. I could add more things, like I've got teacher and student, I've got parent and child. I bet I could come up with other things I could add to this if I chose to. I'm gonna stick with this for now. But I think we've got a good idea of how a bridge map can help me see those comparisons in the world that I maybe never would have put those two things together without this map. Kind of awesome, right? All right, now for those of you who are joining us and have seen some of our previous Thinking Maps Ambassadors sessions, you might remember what we call the frame of reference. So after we've drawn our map, we have to draw a big frame around it, and we leave plenty of room inside our frame for some writing because there's always a critical thinking question that we're going to be answering in our frame of reference. So here we have a critical thinking question. Is responsibility reciprocal? Is it always returned by the other person? Ooh, that is a deep question, right? And did you notice there's this vocabulary word in this question, this word reciprocal? If you look carefully, you might find the definition of reciprocal in the question. Returned by the other person. Yeah. See, this is an example of a higher level critical thinking word that you may not know, and a way to use the context to find the definition of that word. Because sometimes when our teachers ask us critical thinking questions, they use really high level vocabulary words, and we can't answer the question if we don't understand what they're asking, right? So we have to look carefully at our question, which is what I was doing here. So let me read my question again. Is responsibility reciprocal? Is it always returned by the other person? Ooh, this is a good question. So I'm going to start an answer here, right? Now, when I write an answer to this, it's to help prepare me so that I can speak to another person on this topic. So I need enough information here to start a really good conversation. Am I going to do that in like 3 words? No, right? I got to give myself more to work with here because this is for me. This is to help me think this through so I'm prepared and I can have a real conversation with someone about this. And if I am working on increasing my English vocabulary, this is a great opportunity for me to stop and think and look for words that will help me express myself, right? Okay. So if I'm doing all of that, I need to be writing more, don't I? Yeah. Okay, so I should have a full paragraph answering this question on my map. How long is a paragraph? No, elementary school was 3 to 5. We're not elementary school students. Come on, we're high school, right? Okay, so anybody got an idea how long a paragraph needs to be? 6 to 8 sentences. Yeah, it's a lot, right? Because we have to put real thought and effort into this. And remember, you're doing this work to help yourself, because once you have written this, you are going to be prepared to have that academic conversation with someone where you can say, this is what I believe, this is why I believe it, and these are examples. So we want to give ourselves enough writing. All right. Okay, so I got an idea of what my map looks like now, right? I started out with that relating factor that told me how I'm connecting all of my ideas. And then I drew out all of my comparisons. And I remembered to connect them with this little triangle with the word as. Okay, so I've got that. And in my frame of reference, I have a critical thinking question, and I answered it in a solid, I'm pretending we already answered it. You guys get to do that on your own, right? Yeah. I answered in a solid paragraph that's how long again? Yeah, you got it. 6 to 8 sentences long. Perfect. Okay. I think I have an idea of what my maps need to look like. But, Miss Bearden and all our other CBK teachers, they're always going on about rubrics, right? Yeah. And there is a rubric for this map. A rubric is something that we use to help us see if we have all the necessary parts to help us figure out what kind of a grade we might expect on an assignment. Let's take a look at the Bridge Map rubric. So those of us who have seen other Thinking Maps Ambassador classes might be familiar with the format of this rubric. It's a little bit different from the other formats we've seen in Comeback Kids, so let me just explain this. All right. So this first column on the left, this is areas for growth. So if you're going over your map with your teacher, this is where you and the teacher are going to write things that you need to improve, right? These are places where you didn't maybe get it quite right or you needed to add more. And then in the middle, we have our criteria. These are all the things that have to be on the map to get full credit. And you can see it even tells you how many points each one is worth, and it adds up to 100%. 100 points equals percentages. Yeah, see, trying to make this easy on us, right? And this column on the right where it says advanced evidence of exceeding the standard, this is where you or the teacher could look at your map and say, oh my gosh, you did this so well. You had like 10 things to compare. This was fabulous. Or this in-depth analysis was just astounding. So this is where your teacher or you would be able to write notes about the things you did amazingly well on, because let's face it, you got talent, right? Okay, let's look at these criteria now. The relating factor is clearly and legibly labeled. So let's sit back over to our map. Here is the relating factor. It's clear and it's legible. Ding, you got those points. All right, okay, so let's go back. What's the next one? 3 or more analogies are present. Okay, so what does that mean? I do. I have 1, 2, 3. I have the or more. Yay, extra credit for me. Sweet. So I have 3 or more analogies. Awesome. What else do I need? Okay. There is a clear connection between the relating factor and each set of terms. So that means that I can understand how they're connected. Okay, so let's double check that. Okay. So the relating factors is responsible for. Teacher is responsible for. Yeah, it's pretty clear that this is what the teacher is responsible for. Student is responsible for. I think it's pretty clear. These are things the student would be responsible for. So there's a clear connection between my relating factor and the information I put on my map. We got this. Okay, so let's see what else we got on our criteria list, right? So we have the relating factor clearly labeled. We have 3 or more analogies in our map. We definitely have a clear connection from my relating factor to the information in my analogies. Yeah, we got this. Okay, good. So Next one is the frame of reference contains an explanation of the assigned critical thinking question with clear connection to the material on the map. Oh, Ms. Beridan, you didn't explain that at first, did I? No, I didn't. Okay, you're right. Okay, so let's take a look. So that means that when I answer this question, I need to be using some of the information from my map. Oh, let's see if I can give you an example of that. Okay, so I'm answering the question, is responsibility reciprocal? So I might say, sometimes responsibility is reciprocal. Reciprocal, like how a teacher is responsible for teaching and students are responsible for paying attention. Bam, I got my first sentence and it's directly related to the information that's on my map. Yoo-hoo! Okay, so our paragraph really is just an explanation of the information we put on our map. Oh man, well that just made my paragraph so much easier because now I know what I'm doing with this information has to have some connection to how I'm answering that critical thinking question. And now I suddenly have more motivation to answer this question because really I'm just telling the other person what I thought about when I did my map. Yikes. Okay. This is really cool because it's helping me really think about the metacognitive process. So what that means is I'm thinking about how I think. Yeah, right. I know. Sounds crazy, but they've shown in research that one of the best ways to improve your learning and understanding is to think about how it happens. I guess the title Thinking Map is starting to make more sense now because this map is kind of showing how I think about this particular comparison. And so now when I answer my critical thinking question, what I'm doing is I'm helping myself prepare to explain what I thought on this map to someone else. Whoa, huh, sweet. Okay, I'm starting to get this. This is kind of making sense, huh? All right, but there was still something else on our rubric. Okay, let's go back to that rubric again. Okay, so we're looking at the rubric. We've got the relating factor clearly labeled. We have 3 or more analogies, totally. We saw that there was a clear connection between the relating factor and the analogies, the information that we had on our map. And then if we looked in our frame of reference, we were also making a clear connection between the information we put on that map and the answer we wrote to that critical thinking question. You guys are geniuses. This is so going to help me think through what I'm doing. Okay, and then, oh look, there's this last one here. So all quotes or sources in the frame of reference are correctly cited in the proper format. So what that means is that if I had to use a textbook to help me answer my question, I had better list that textbook in my frame of reference. Okay, that doesn't apply particularly to the map I just did, but if you're doing a map for your teacher and you have to use a website or a textbook, you need to make sure you list that information in your frame of reference. So I'm going to put in my frame of reference down here. I used my prior knowledge. So I didn't have to look any of this up in a book. I just used the information I already had right here in my brain from, you know, like living life, having experiences being both a student and a teacher. Okay, and many of you guys have done this, right? You've been students before and you may have helped someone else teach someone else something when they needed help. Here we go. We got this, right? Okay, sweet. All right. So I didn't have to cite a textbook, but I did need to say where I got my information from. Right. Okay, so did we hit everything on our, we did it. We got all the points on our rubric. I think we have a solid map. All right, so we did one. I don't know about you, but I need more than one example. Let's keep working on this one. Okay, so we're going to go to the next one. Let's do this one together. All right. So this one, oh man, it's a math one. No, there's no bridge maps. No math in bridge maps. Ha, you're wrong. We could totally use this to help us with math. I know, right? I'm always looking for ways to help me improve my math and understand it better. So this is a very, like, don't be insulted if this is something you already know. And if this is something that you struggle with like me, don't worry. It's okay. So I picked a concept that will help us with our algebra class. You can even see I've got my critical thinking question up here. Why do you need to understand place value to succeed in your algebra class? So we're going to be figuring that out as we complete this map. All right, our relating factor says expanded form is. And then I've got numbers. Oh man, you know what that means, right? I got to take this number and I got to write it below in expanded form. So the expanded form of 2 and 1400ths would be 2 plus 0.1 plus 0.1 0.04. So now when I write it all together, I get 2.14. So I'm just taking it apart. So I've got my whole number. The first digit after the decimal is my 1, that's tenths. And then I've got the second digit after the decimal, that's my hundredths. So 4 hundredths. So 2 plus 1/10 plus 4 hundredths. And when I put it all together, I get the number I started with. You guys may remember having done this before. We're just expanding the number. We're breaking it down into its pieces. And when we add it all together, we get the same number. Yeah. So, yeah, I really had to understand what these numbers meant to be able to do this properly. Okay, let's try another example. So here I have 7.8. So I'm going to say this is the same as saying 7 plus, all right, now see that 0.8, that's 8/10. So I would have to say 0.8, which is 8/10. So 7 plus 8/10. Oh, well, that one wasn't so hard, right? This next one looks hard. Yeah, so I'm just going to think about place value. So I know this is a whole number, and I see my decimal, and I know it goes tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So I'm going to start with my whole number, 5, plus, now I'm going to do my tenths. What number's in the tenths place? 1. Okay, so I'm going to put 0.1. So that's my tenths. Now I'm going to add my hundredths. So I start with 0 and my decimal. And I'm adding hundredths. That's the second point placed after the decimal. So I'm going to put a 0 in the tenths, and I'm going to put a 3 in the hundredths. There we go. Okay, so that's 3 hundredths. And now I have to add that last decimal space with thousandths. Okay, so I'm going to put 0 point, and now I have to do 2 places in front of my 2. So 0, 0, 2. Okay. There. All right. Okay, that wasn't that terrible, right? Okay, so 5 plus 1/10 plus 3 hundredths plus 2 thousandths. So 5 and 132 thousandths. Okay. You know, I just did math. And it wasn't that bad. I was just focusing on breaking the number into its components, right? So expanded form is my relating factor. So I gave the number and then I gave the expanded form. So 2.14 in expanded form is 2 plus 1/10 plus 4 hundredths, just as 7.8 in expanded form is 7 plus 8/10, just as 5.132 or 5 and 132 thousandths is in expanded form is 5 plus 1/10 plus 3 hundredths plus 2 thousandths. Oh, hey, and I read my map. That made sense. Okay, so now what do I need to do next? Let's check our rubric. Okay, it is the relating factor clearly labeled. Yes, expanded form is. But you know what? When I was reading my map, I kept having to say in expanded form. So let's add that to our relating factor. There we go. So 2.14 in expanded form is 2 plus 1/10 plus 4/100ths. Okay, now that's kind of making sense. Okay. All right. So I've got my relating factor clearly and legibly labeled, and it wasn't clear, so that's why I had to go back and write and add a word, right? Sometimes I have to really work on making sure that it makes sense. Okay, do I have 3 or more analogies? Let's check. 1, 2, 3. Criteria met. Love it. Okay, what's next? Is there a clear connection between the relating factor and each set of terms? So in expanded form, so 2 and 14/100ths in expanded form is 2 plus 1/10 plus 4/100ths. Yeah, that totally, they're completely connected, right? It totally makes sense because my relating factor is explaining how the top term is related to the bottom term. Awesome. I got this. Okay, what's next? Back to that rubric. All right, pop back over. Okay, so there's a connection between the relating factor and each set of terms. So now let's take a look at the frame of reference contains an explanation of the assigned critical thinking questions with clear connections to the material on the bridge map. Oh, I got to do that, right? Okay, so now you guys, ladies and gentlemen, are going to need to answer this question. Okay, should I pause, give you a couple minutes? We could do that. Okay, why don't I pause and give you a minute? I want you to think about this critical thinking question. I really want to see an answer here, and I know you can do it. How many sentences do we need? Yes, you got it. 6 to 8 sentences. All right. I'm going to pause very briefly, ladies and gentlemen, so that we can work on our paragraph. All right. I had to stop sharing so I can pause. Let me do that real quick. And now we are going to pause for, let's say, 5 minutes while you guys do your critical thinking question. Ready, set. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you got through that writing assignment. You should have 6 to 8 sentences, 6 to 8 sentences, sorry guys, explaining the answer. So hopefully you guys were able to talk about why do you need to understand place value to succeed in algebra class? And this whole map, this expanded form was all about those place values, right? Okay. So we should have that. Let's go back to our rubric. What's the last thing we need? Oh, okay. So we talked about the frame of reference and we made sure that there was a connection between place value and our answer and the expanded form on our map. Okay, so we've got that. So the last one is that all quotes or sources in the frame of reference are correctly cited. Oh, so it might be that I needed to use my math textbook to help me answer this one, or a Google article. So let's make sure that we put on here, where did you find your information? Okay, so if you used your math textbook, you need to put Integrated Math 1, right? If you use Google, you need to put a link to where you found that information. If you used your own mind, love it. You just need to say, I used my own prior knowledge. I used what I knew. I used my life experience. Okay, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. I think that you now have a solid understanding of what a bridge map is and how to use it to help you find connections and relate completely different things, right? So we're now creating our own analogies. I know, right? I always thought an analogy was this crazy thing that only writers, you're like a professional writer, they get paid to sit there all day and come up with these comparisons. Ha! No, we can do it too. And this bridge map will help us to do that. I know. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm becoming a professional writer just from using this map. Awesome, right? Okay. But I want to take this a little bit deeper for you guys. Now that you got this, I want you to help me explore how can we use this bridge map to help us improve our own writing, right? Because all of you guys are being asked to write different things for your teachers, and I'm sure of it. Sometimes when you're writing an essay, your teacher might come back to you and say, you know what, you need to revise your writing. You need to show some more advanced word choice because your sentences are really simple. No problem. All right, so let me show you how we can do that. We're going to pick a sentence. And up here you can see I've got a sentence. All right, so this is just a simple sentence like I might have written when I was writing an essay. John went to the store to buy lunch. This could be from a story. It could be from an essay. It doesn't matter. So say your teacher said, find a way to make this sentence better. Perfect example of how we can use a bridge map. Yeah. All right. So we want to improve our sentence. We're going to try to come up with more precise words. So our relating factor is more precise than. Okay. So I'm going to kind of pick on some of my words that are just really kind of like kindergarten words. And I'm in high school. Like, I need to come up with a more descriptive word, a more adult word, not adult in a negative way. Adult is in I'm mature and I have a broader vocabulary. I need to come up with a better word for some of these. So I'm picking on the words went, store, and lunch because those are really generic words. And I want to find a way to improve them. So I set up my relating factor is more precise than, and beneath each of my spaces, I put one of my target words. So I've got went, store, and lunch down here. Now, what are other words I could use to describe went? Well, maybe I could say drove. I can't type today. Ubered. What else could I use to replace went? So I drove, I Ubered, I biked, I skated, I hopped. Okay, I can't imagine anyone hopping to the store to buy lunch, right? Okay, so I've got some words here though, but okay, what else can I have? Oh, I rode the bus. There we go. Okay, so I've got, okay, so drove, Ubered, biked, skated, hopped, oops, rode the bus. There we go. So I've got different ways to replace the word went, right? Because all of those would be more exciting than saying went. And certainly keep my interest and they tell me a lot more. Like if I say John Ubered to the store to buy lunch, I have a better picture in my head now. So Ubered is definitely a bit more precise than just saying went. Oh, hey, so it's connected to that relating factor because Ubered is more precise than just saying went. Went is vague. It's not like it doesn't give me any real information. How did he go? Oh, he rode the bus. Oh, he Ubered. Okay. So yeah, these are definitely more precise than just saying went. Let's do the same thing for the next target word. Okay, so my next target word, because it really is generic to just say store. So like, what could I replace store with? Maybe I could say food for less. Yeah, okay. I like to shop cheap, okay? Where else could he have gone? Maybe he went to Costco. Where else could he go? Okay, what about Stater Brothers? Stater Bros. What other store might he have gone to get lunch? Maybe he went to 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven? Yeah, I think I spelled it. I don't know. I think that's how they write it. Where else could he go to? I was just going to get some food. It doesn't have to be a store. Well, I did say store, so I want to stick with stores. I mean, if it didn't have to be a store, I could put like McDonald's or some fast food restaurant, but I said store, so I want to stick with a store on this. I think we've got a few, right? Let's see. Costco, Food for Less, Costco, Stater Brothers, 7-Eleven. Yeah, okay. So now we can rewrite our sentence and we can just kind of pick words. So John skated to the 7-Eleven to buy lunch. Wow, this sentence is already sounding better, isn't it? And the cool thing is it's kind of interchangeable. I could write this sentence in a bunch of different ways, and like all of them are more interesting than the first way when I started with. Cool. Okay, one more word. One more word. Okay, because you guys are doing an amazing job with this. So let's think. Okay, so lunch. Instead of saying lunch, what could we say that's more going to give us more information? Fried chicken. Yeah, okay, I'm getting hungry. Can you tell? That's fired, Susan, not fried. Fried chicken. What about rotisserie hot dog? You know those hot dogs on the little roller things? You go to 7-Eleven and they roll back and forth? Yeah, that's what I mean by this. Okay, a rotisserie hot dog. What else could we buy for lunch? Oh, you know what? I want to say pizza, but I'm already doing this like precise language thing. I think I should be specific. So what kind of pizza? I'm going to say veggie pizza. I know I'm a nerd, but I love veggie pizza. Okay, what else could he have gotten for lunch? What if he got taquitos? Okay, now I'm thinking Mexican food. I'm getting real hungry. Yeah, it's the good stuff, right? Okay, what what else might he have gotten for lunch? What if John got junk food for lunch? So what if he got Takis? All right. So I got a few things, right? Fried chicken, rotisserie hot dog, veggie pizza, taquitos, Takis. All right. I got a few options here. So now I can rewrite my sentence. And man, can I make it different, right? I can make it way better. All right. So John rode the bus to Costco to buy veggie pizza. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's definitely more interesting than the sentence I started with, right? Yeah. Huh. Very cool. Okay, but I could do this differently too, right? I could do this a number of different ways. What if I said John Ubered to Stater Brothers to buy fried chicken. Yeah. Okay. You can tell I'm hungry and the sentence is not helping. All right. So we have a bunch of different combinations of more interesting sentences that we can make now after using this bridge map. Yeah, I could think of at least 7 different sentences I could now write all based on that first sentence. All different ways to make my sentence better. Imagine if I just picked like 2 sentences out of my writing assignment and I did this with them. Dang, Miss B would be impressed, right? Yeah, I would be super impressed. All right, so now we've come up with our relating factor, we've generated our analogies, we even used them to help improve our writing, but because it's a thinking map, we always include that critical thinking question. So on this one, our critical thinking question is, how can a bridge map help me revise my writing? What did we just do? Well, we used a bridge map to target specific words that we wanted to improve in our writing with maybe better word choices, right? So that is a cool way to answer my question here, isn't it? Yeah. All right. So in your notes, I will be looking for a solid paragraph answering the question, how can your bridge map help you revise your writing? All right. I am going to let you guys do that on your own and bring it in with your homework. All right. I said it. Did you hear? I said the word. Oh, it's the worst word. I said homework. Yeah, I know. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we always get 2 maps to do for homework. Are you ready? Are you ready? No? Sorry, we're doing it anyway. Okay, here we go. Let's look at our homework map. So we talked about revising our writing. All right, so the next map we're going to look at, this is your first homework map. All right, I started it for you. I've got the relating factor, powers, A or and. You're like, what the heck, Miss Bairden? What do you mean by that? That's why I put an example on here. So electricity powers a light bulb. Oh, is that kind of making sense now? I'm hoping it is, because at home, you're going to come up with other ones. So this is a very literal idea, right? Electricity truly is the actual power that starts a light bulb. But I want to come up with a figurative one. And you're like, what the heck are you talking about, Ms. Bairden? Let me show you. Okay. So Monster drinks. Okay, so electricity powers a light bulb just like Monster drinks power a late night study session. Late night study session. Oh, well, okay. So Monster drinks help me stay up late to study, right? That's what I'm saying here. Are Monster drinks literally power? No, they're not actual power, but they help power my brain so I can focus and think and stay on it when I'm trying to study for something, right? Okay, so I've got a figurative example here and a literal example here and a figurative example here. So literal is when it's really what it says it is. Electricity really is power and it really does power a light bulb. Figurative is when it's kind of imaginative. I mean, a Monster drink is an actual power, right? But it helps power me. So I'm making a comparison here that's figurative. So this is my literal comparison where it's actually exactly what it says it is. A figurative one is when it's representing what I say it is. So a Monster drink powers a late night study session. Yeah. All right. Now y'all are going to come up with 3 of your own. I want you to add to it. So you're going to come up with 3 more analogies with the same relating factor. And don't forget this wonderful frame of reference. You're going to answer the question, why are analogies powerful writing tools? We kind of talked about that a little bit with our previous map, right? So I want you guys to be able to answer that question as your homework assignment. How many sentences again? 6 to 8. You got it. Excellent. All right. So this is homework assignment number 1. Yeah, homework assignment number 1. And how many did I say we would have? We always have 2. That's right. So let's look at the last homework assignment. Okay. Those of us who have been around the block with this Thinking Maps Ambassador class know that I always have a map related to grads. Oh, grads. Yeah, we're doing it again. Yep, we do it every time. All right, so this time we're using a bridge map. Our relating factor is an example of. So blank is an example of growth mindset, just like blank is an example of resourcefulness, just like blank is an example of active engagement, just like blank is an example of determination, just like blank is an example of social responsibility. Okay, y'all are going to have to put some real thought into this one. It's not a quick, easy one. It looks easy because you're like, oh, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to write 5 words. I can do it 2 seconds. No, yeah, that's what you think. You got to come up with a real example. So this isn't necessarily going to be a word. It might be a short story. It might be a phrase. But it's got to be something that's an example of that particular characteristic. All right. I think we know how to do that part. So make sure that you remember in your frame of reference to answer our critical thinking question. So how did creating this map help deepen your understanding of grads? All right. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking for ways that grads can be a part of us. We want to embody grads. We want to take this on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you have a good idea of what a bridge map is and how we can use it to help us in our writing and our math. Nope, she didn't say that. Yeah. All right. Have a wonderful week, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you at our next session. Okay. There we go. Meeting controls. There. Bye, everyone.